I deeply and profoundly regret my reaction, and I apologize to all involved. These are the words of Congressman Bob Etheridge, a Democrat from the North Carolina 2nd District, which is near the Raleigh-Durham area. This is a comment that Bob Etheridge made tonight, about 2.5 hours ago, after this morning it was discovered that he assaulted and accosted innocent students on the streets of the District of Columbia, physically handling them as if they were his property, taking items from their hands, and shouting in their faces on the streets, all because they tried to ask him a couple of questions about his political positions. He's a congressman on the street, and some people ask him some questions about his political positions. A reasonable and expected encounter. And he assaulted them. Now he's sorry. Folks, I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. Some of my friends have been criticizing me for my extremist perspective that the state is an institution of violence, in spite of the literal fact that everything the state does is ultimately enforced by violence, or else we wouldn't call it the state, we'd call it a company. People say it's kind of strange to talk about congressmen like they're all a bunch of crooks, like they're all out to hurt you. Well, they are all out to hurt you. A few days ago, Congressman Bob Etheridge from North Carolina showed his constituents what kind of person he really is when he was confronted about his allegiance to the Obama agenda by some students on the streets of D.C., and he turned around, shouted in their faces, physically assaulted them, and took their property without permission. This is the mentality of a congressman. This is the way that they think about the world. While he was assaulting these students, he kept demanding to know their names, and he used the phrase, "I have a right to know who you are." Now, notice the students didn't do anything that would give him that right. They asked him questions, and it would certainly be courteous when you engage a person in conversation to tell them your name. It's polite, it's respectful to identify yourself, but it's not a right to know somebody's name. It's not a right to handle somebody physically when you don't like what they're asking you. And it's not a right to take a camera from somebody when you don't like being filmed when you're a congressman on the street. You know, if he was in his own home, or if he were just an obscure citizen, not bothering anybody, then I would say, why are you filming him? Why don't you leave him alone? But he's not. He's a congressman on a public street in the District of Columbia, and he should expect to be asked questions. It is not illegal to film there. It is not illegal to talk to people on the street, last time I checked. And it is not a right to know someone's name. It is not a right to bully them unless they tell you their name. But this is the mentality that the congressman has. That he's justified in using physical force over somebody simply because he does not appreciate the way that they're speaking to him. And mind you, the students weren't even rude. They weren't insightful. They weren't quite as courteous as they could have been, but they in no way attempted to provoke an encounter. Bob Etheridge was asked if the students attempted to provoke an encounter, and if that part was simply cut out of the video. He declined to comment and said that that was not the case, that no, it is what it looks like. Now he's sorry. He's not sorry, guys. He's not sorry at all. Okay, if he was sorry, then he would have been sorry when he did it, or he would have been sorry the next day. He wouldn't have been sorry when the video went viral. He wouldn't have been sorry when the internet found out about this. This is what it's all about. These people in Congress want to tell you how to live your life. They want to use force to do it. And they use words like rights, and they use things like their physical force, as if there's no principle to be had here. There's no specific definition of rights. There's no specific time when force is appropriate and when force is not appropriate. It's all subject to their judgment. This is Bob Etheridge, Democratic Congressman from North Carolina, who wants to physically handle civilians according to his judgment. This is the man that wants to take your money so he can spend it the way that he sees fit. This is the man who believes that the votes of 51% of people are the consent of 100% of people. This is the man who believes that the government is a legitimate institution. This is a man that believes that you can take things from people, you can assault people, you can force people to live a certain way, and as long as your personal judgment, your personal values align with that, if you wear a funny badge or you wear a nice suit, you sit on Capitol Hill, that's okay. This is Bob Etheridge, a man with no morality. Bob Etheridge, a man who simply wants to control you at his own arbitrary discretion. He is not sorry for what he did, because what he did was not aberrant. It was not deviant. It was not a dramatic change from his philosophical beliefs. It was a manifestation of his philosophical beliefs through the mask of politeness and political correctness that he wears most of the time, through the cover-up of campaigning and fundraising and press conferences. This is Bob Etheridge showing you how he feels about the world, showing you what he believes about the world. Bob Etheridge is not sorry. Bob Etheridge is proud for the first time in his life because he has finally expressed the desire for coercion and subjugation that is inherent in his philosophy about the world. This is Bob Etheridge, the criminal.